And so I think it would be interesting if the intro of the Hashira Training arc is resembling the slayers who have died to demons over time, being the swords that we see, and in the credits, when it's heavily emphasized on Muzan, that it's resembling more of the demons who have had their human life flickered out. Hello there, my fandom friends. Today I am going to be breaking down the Hashira Training arc credits. So the awesome thing about this is that there will be no spoilers for the manga ahead. So I have read the whole series, but I wanted to make something that would be good for everyone. So absolutely no spoilers in this video. I haven't seen anyone make a video like this breaking it down. I haven't really read anyone's commentary about what they think the credits mean or anything. And I think there's a lot to unpack here, and I have lots of thoughts that actually relate back to the intro of the song. And so I just kind of wanted to get out my thoughts about visually what we're seeing. I'm not going to be talking about the actual words of the song. That might be in a different video because I still have to go back and listen to that in kind of like the English translation. So we're just gonna jump right into this, starting at the beginning. So the credits start off with this kind of bloody water morphing into blue spider lilies, which of course we know Muzan is obsessed with finding. We've known that from the start. We see that Muzan is then walking through kind of this wooden structure, room, building, whatever it looks like to you. To me, it looks like he's walking through the Infinity Castle, and he might be moving closer and closer to his end goal. If you've seen the Hashira arc, we know that he is searching for Nezuko. All this time he's been creating demons. He's had multiple goals, but there's a couple that have been the same throughout the whole story. And as he's walking, we see that there's kind of like these candle structures, and as he walks past them, the lights go out. I'm going to go back to those lights here in a second, but I did want to quickly mention that the floor looks to also be liquid. Every time he steps, it kind of makes that circular ripple out, and it could be just the darkness of this whole credit scene that makes it look kind of like blood. We did kind of see that in that first part, so I wonder if he's walking through blood that can symbolize all the slayers who've died, all the demons who've died, basically everyone throughout this whole storyline. But I'm gonna focus mainly on the flickering of the candles. I have two different theories for why they go out as he's walking by. And so the first one is that it could just symbolize all of the slayers who have died over time to demons. So as Muzan walks by, the flickering of the candles is going out because that's kind of like a human soul that's simmering out and dying. Now, my second theory is kind of what I would hope it would be, because I think this is more interesting. And since the credits revolve mainly around Muzan, a demon, I think this theory would be really cool. But I wonder if those flickering of the candles going out actually resemble humans that Muzan turned into demons. And so that's kind of like the human light flickering out, and they turn into demons, which is the darkness. And so as Muzan continues walking through his life, he's continuing to manipulate people and turn them into demons. And so I think that would be really cool symbolism. And this might be taking it a little too far, but I also connected this to the intro song, where we can see Muzan and Kaguya back to back. And surrounding them, we see all of the Slayer swords stuck in the ground. And I know I'm talking about the intro now, but it might parallel to the credits song. And so all of those swords that you see in that intro obviously resemble Slayers, probably Slayers who have died to demons over time. All of their swords are in the ground, they're no longer usable. We see that Kaguya and Muzan are in the middle of them, the two main forces who are fighting against each other throughout this whole story. And so I think it would be interesting if the intro of the Hashira Training arc is resembling the slayers who have died to demons over time, being the swords that we see, and in the credits, when it's heavily emphasized on Muzan, that it's resembling more of the demons who have had their human life flickered out. Now, I think this is a really cool parallel. Obviously, I can't read the minds of the people making the intro and the credits, but this is just something that I wanted to share, and probably like the biggest highlight of my thoughts on the credits, because I just find this to be so fascinating. I also love demons, so like seeing that their lives were changed and made into something so much worse is just so interesting to think about. As Muzan is also walking, the candles are flickering out. We see images of what looks like people or potentially demons being killed on the wall. We see that through the reflection of the lights that are flickering in and out as Muzan walks by. Now, I don't know who these people are. It might not even be a specific person. It could be characters that are going to die soon. It could be past Hashira, future Hashira. We don't really know, but it looks like two are fighting against each other, and then there's two images of like someone that has died. So it could be like a demon versus a Hashira and then one of them dying. I don't know. It's probably not a specific person, but just something else to throw out there. We then see a crow fly through what Muzan is walking through, whether that's the Infinity Castle or something else. But this crow is flying through the darkness over all of the lit candles still toward the light. And then it flies into the light outside, into the big open blue sky. So we know that it's morning time. And so this might symbolize Kagaya because of the heavy focus on Muzan and Kagaya in the intro and the outro. And so this might symbolize kind of the light and everything. Again, it's his crow from like the Ubuyashiki mansion. So not his crow specifically, but one of the Hashira's crows. So it would make sense that this could symbolize either Kagaya during this time or just the Ubuyashiki family in general. The next thing we get is kind of this red flower. And I don't necessarily think it's a red spider lily because it doesn't really have the same like spindle petals that the blue spider lily had. I'm not an expert on flowers at all, but it's a red flower. That's what it looks like to me. I know that red flowers in the Japanese culture symbolize kind of like chaos and death. So this makes sense, again, that we are seeing death and chaos. We know that that's going to happen in the future because of Muzan's goal. That's been the whole storyline, is just complete chaos and death, so this makes sense. This scene also actually morphs into Amane taking care of Kagaya as he's laying on the ground. He can't really talk well, he can't move, we know at this point. And so death is creeping closer and closer for him, parallel to the red flower that we just saw. Next, it morphs into all of the Hashira, even Rengoku, yay! We have all 9 Hashira, and what's important here is that they're looking at what looks like a sunrise. We can see the rays of the sun, and so maybe this is them kind of looking out on a world that they wished for with no demons. And so this is really interesting because this is then followed by more red flowers and they kind of explode. And so it's kind of like this Kagaya scene where he's dying. We have the Hashira, and it's kind of like the red flowers are before and after are really good minded characters, the ones that are fighting the demons. And so it's kind of like this closing in of death and chaos from like Muzan's shadow. We know that Muzan is coming. I think that's the main point of this whole credits. We see this mysterious swordsman, of course, which we saw from season 1. We've seen it throughout. We saw it in the Swordsmith Village arc with Yurichi Type 0. We see him again with Tanjiro's old family. We see Tanjiro watching over Nezuko and Tanjiro when they were kids. Of course, we're calling back to season 1 when before they, had their family attacked. Now we see Muzan in the snow, which also calls back to season 1 when Muzan was on his way to the Kamado house to slaughter everyone. And so, of course, we never saw Muzan's perspective in this. We only saw Tanjiro's when he came back and saw that everyone in his family had died, except for Nezuko, who he saved, obviously. And so it was really cool seeing his perspective, Muzan's. This next scene is really interesting, and we see that there's the snow, what looks like 6 berries or blood droplets. To me, they look more like berries because we can see a little darker circle in the middle of them. It could also be blood, but what's important is that there's 6 of them. And when Muzan's footprint steps on them, 5 of them kind of explode and disperse, and 1 of them is remaining. And so what I think this symbolizes is that the one that's remaining is Tanjiro. The other 5 are his siblings who have passed away. We know that Tanjiro has 5 other siblings. Of course, that would include Nezuko, who's turned into a demon. She's too far gone to really include in that alive category of a human. This, of course, then transitions into Tanjiro seeing his dead family from season 1. We see that he's crying. He has his blue scarf when he was much younger. we see that he is expressing his feelings towards seeing his family dead from Muzan, and then does this really cool transition of him turning into his current self. We see Rengoku's hilt that he's using with his new sword, which is really cool. And we end with Muzan walking again. We see kind of his cape billowing in the breeze, and he walks and he looks like he looks up at a big dead tree. Now, this is the one part of the credits scene that I just can't crack. I think everything leading up until now, I've had a pretty good kind of interpretation of what I can theorize and think about with speculating things, but this tree I'm really stumped on. If you have any ideas, totally let me know in the comments. I kind of just resorted to researching more about what dead trees resemble in the Japanese culture, and what it gave me was interesting because, again, it symbolizes death. And it symbolizes death that is to come, which makes sense because, of course, we're leading into our final battle. We know Muzan's coming. Again, the whole credits is resembling Muzan coming as a whole, and so we know death is to come. And so it could just be as simple as that. It kind of resembles this negative energy. Now, me personally, I really love trees. I personally think that they resemble their roots and their branches spreading out throughout the world and connecting everything. Everything is connected. Everything happens for a reason. We learned this a lot in Avatar: Last Airbender, the swamp episode. It's one of my favorites with the symbolism of that tree. And I think like all trees are like that. That's kind of how life is. Everything is connected. The roots are so deep, they go far. And so that could also be kind of a symbolism of this Demon Slayer story. That is going to wrap up my thoughts on the credits of the Hashira Training arc and the symbolism that I am kind of theorizing and speculating about. If you have any thoughts on anything I said, please let me know in the comments if you agree, disagree, or have anything else that you'd like to add. Like I said in the beginning of this episode, I might be doing kind of a breakdown of the lyrics of the song and comparing them to what I talked about in this video. I have not since looked at the lyrics in English, so I don't exactly have any connections there as of yet, but I'm going to take some time to do that. I think I might also make a video kind of breaking down the intro song, but I think there's less parallels in that to things that the credits have and just kind of explaining the season. So we'll see, but I hope you enjoyed and I'll see you next time. Bye!